Welcome to my video podcast, a podcast on music and music industry. And today it's already episode number 6. And this is Melissa from the band Nordic Daughter.
Nordic Daughter.
Tell us about Nordic Daughter. How did you come up with the idea for this band? What are the roots of the name of this band?
Well, I am a daughter of the Norse. We started really delving into our ancestry, and we did our DNA tests, and we found out that both of us are very heavily Scandinavian, and then subsequently English and Irish and Scottish and Finnish too. We've got some Finnish and a little bit of Russian for me. And then I also have Italian in me. So my husband and I started talking about it, and we're like, we really would like to create a band name that honors our heritage. So we started Nordic Daughter. And because I'm the lead singer, we named it Nordic Daughter, not Nordic Son or Nordic People. But we really went more Celtic in the music style when our first violin player joined us with the group after we had written our first album. She joined us and added the violin elements to it, and it kind of took off from there, and we really started wearing costumes at that point and doing the war paint and making an entire experience for the audience, really. We started just really wanting to be able to impact people by sharing our own stories and maybe helping them heal from their own traumas.
You are a creative person. And as a creative person, do you have to be in comfort with yourself in order to develop as an artist? Or the struggles that you have inside you benefit and help you with your art as a musician, like creative-wise?
Creative-wise, I think that the turmoil that I possess inside me and the psychology that I have and the problems that I've faced helps me become a better writer, because I'm able to connect with and emote those feelings lyrically, and when I'm performing on stage, people can feel it. Like, we all bring this energy to stage, but I think when you have a really strong front person and they can bring that energy right to the edge of the stage so that the audience can feel it radiating from them, that's what I've got. I have that. And I think that's why we've been so successful.
Do you know how to evoke this feeling, or it just comes naturally to you? Like when you are feeling that you are really concerned, and focused, is it anything specific that you need beforehand in order to get into that state?
So when I get into that state, and I've done this with co-writing, sometimes I need to, if I'm writing with somebody else or I'm writing by myself. If I'm writing by myself, I'm usually going back and I'm reading some of my journals. I will start to listen to some of the old songs that I've written just to put myself into that state. And then I start listening to the music that my husband had written, because he'll usually write, oh my God, some of the most amazing melodies. He sits there on guitar, and I swear to God, he plays like 3 hours a day, like nonstop. That's what he does when he gets off work. He just plays guitar. So playing guitar, I listen to the music, and then I sit with it. I feel it. And then I lyrically will start humming a melody to it. And then something will naturally come to me. I'll usually find 1 or 2 lyrics that just come naturally. And I'm like, oh, that was great. And then I build from there. So I am pulling, I think, directly from the ether when I'm creating. I can tell you that when I'm writing, it helps it does help for me to be in a little bit of a challenging place. So when I am balanced, I don't write as well. I just don't. It's weird. I think this is why a lot of vocalists will end up drinking excessively or using drugs excessively, is because they're trying to capture that turmoil that they felt in the past, and they fall into sync with it easier if they are inebriated. But I don't drink, so I can't really get to that place that way. So I have to really meditate on it, and I have to think on it, and I have to feel it, and it's almost like putting myself back into a place of crisis. Is that weird?
To me, no, because I'm also a creative person. I understand you. But for me personally, it's a little different because I can get inspired by the view when I look at something specific. I can go to the wilderness, for example. Surroundings inspire me. Nature.
Yeah, I love nature. Yes, it definitely inspires me. Gardening inspires me. But again, I think if I'm in that space, I get inspired when I'm really working with nature. So if I'm hiking and I get my endorphins pumping, again, it's almost like you're getting that natural high. Does that make sense? It's like a natural high. You're getting those endorphins pumping in your brain when you're out hiking in nature, or you're out gardening, or you're doing something that's super active. And so you're still altering your mental perception when you do that. Yeah, that's probably how I alter my mental perception then. Mostly. I've never even thought about that before.
The origins of creativity.
I mean, I'll come up with some pretty interesting melodies and then I'll record them, but then I feel like it's harder to write if I go from my melodies and then have to have Jason write something over it. It's a more natural process when he writes the guitar parts, and then I come back in and I do my melodies and my lyrics. But I do have a tendency to sit there and drive. I'll put on his guitar stuff because I record them on my phone, and I'll put it in my car, and then I'll just jump in the car and I'll drive, and I'll just start humming melodies along to his melodies and trying to find those beautiful harmonies that become our music, right? So I have a couple of different creative processes that I choose to use, and I guess it depends on the song and what the melody is as to which one I'm going to use.
You know, a lot of people say that they know what writer's block is, and they know what that basically means when they're like having this blank page and they don't know what to do. For me personally, I don't have this problem because if I know how to, I usually write a lot of lyrics, and I just think of some emotion. Maybe I like raw emotions, like emotions that I actually felt myself. Then it's easier and it's more real when you put this into paper because you already know exactly what you're writing about. And
yes,
you know exactly. And or sometimes you can visualize or can imagine stuff. It also works in a different way. And so there are so many emotions, feelings, cases in the world. And you can take one situation and create from there, and you don't have that writer's block. So it's kind of interesting for me to hear people say I'm in a block and I don't know what to do about it, because there are so many ways you can overcome this problem. Like, think of any emotion, you know. You can take something you felt in the past and just go from there.
I agree. Well, I would say if I'm struggling with writing, then I usually paint.
Oh, you paint also. That's great.
I paint also. So if I'm struggling with writing, I'll paint. It's one of the things that I offer. So I bring my paintings with us when we go out to shows, and I'll put them up and display them, and people can purchase my art.
What do you paint? You paint portraits or your landscape, or what do you do?
Mostly landscapes. I love landscapes. I'm a big fan of Monet and Van Gogh, and all of the, classic impressionist painters. I love landscapes, and that's part of my nature, my love for nature that I have. So I paint a lot of trees. I have a thing for trees. I'm wondering if I was a dryad in a past life. I don't know if I.
Okay.
So
when you need to get focused, you paint, and you paint nature.
Yes.
Okay. You have you create your own artwork for your albums, for your singles, for your stuff?
Yes. So the last one, The Path, I painted that tree, and I just painted it on a drinking horn. Hold on. I'm going to go get it really quick.
Oh, wow.
See?
Yeah.
So I painted on the drinking horn. Same, do some different stuff. I have to polyurethane that one, but it's one of our unique merchandise things that we offer. It's very Viking, right?
How do you think people become creative in general?
They become open. They become open. I feel like when you mimic art, because you start out mimicking art. Let's be honest. Most of us are mimicking art for the first several years that we start creating, because we mimic what we learned and what we know. But there comes a point that I feel like we stop mimicking, and we've become so open. Our craft has become honed to a point where it's second nature to us, right? It's just natural. It's innate. Our skills and our talent are innate in us, and we get to a place where we're so open to the ether that it floods us, and all of that energy, and I feel like even part of our ancestral DNA kind of runs with us in our bones, right? And I think it doesn't always just come from us. I think it's interesting because I hear, I'll write a song, and then you'll release it, and then you're like, oh my God, that's the song that you hear later. It's like, that's a great lyric. And then all of a sudden you hear like 5 different lyrics that are almost identical to that. I feel like we are all drawing from the ether in a lot of ways, which is why stylistically you see kind of these transitions in style from decade to decade musically, right?
We discussed how artist gets inspired and gets his creativity from the universe. What do you think is the artist's mission in general for the society?
I believe artists are the catalysts for change. They're the catalysts for getting social change or political change across. It depends if you're going to be political as an artist, but I believe it's about changing people for the better. Some people do not have that mission as artists, but I believe that
well, maybe deep inside, maybe people do not understand sometimes. Like,
no,
a person can have a certain image, but it's not that obvious. You have to go deeper. Like, you have to dig deeper. Like Marilyn Manson, for example, right?
Yes. You wouldn't normally look at him and go, oh my gosh, he's like super genius. He's like a super genius. Like most people would just push him off and not give him a second chance because he's so creative and out there, right? Kind of like Lady Gaga.
Exactly.
Lady Gaga, so out there. Like, did you think that she'd be opening for the Super Bowl after she wore a meat dress? Like, I didn't necessarily expect that. But she's creative, and she knows how to brand and market herself. And I feel like these artists that are able to it's providing an authentic image of themselves, right? That's authentic to her. That the weirdness, the kookiness. Same with Marilyn Manson. He was not like, maybe he was partially taking direction from his label, but I think that he was expressing himself, and he wanted to give the audience a certain experience, and that's what he does every single time he goes on stage. And that's what you have to do as an artist. You have to give people an experience, and if you can give them an experience that changes their heart and mind for the better, you have created a true fan, and you have, I think, fulfilled your mission. Just one person in every audience every night is all you really need to truly fulfill a mission. And a certain number of ticket sales, right?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming, Melissa. Personally, I really enjoyed our conversation because, you can tell the creative person right away. And we discussed some really interesting things, I think. So I'm sure you have what it takes to make it big with your musical career and to distribute your message to the great audience. So I wish you success with that and good luck. And thanks again for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Alexey. I am so honored that you have stayed up all hours of the night to do this interview with me. That's awesome.
You can see the detailed information about our guests and the projects in the description section of this video. If you like our project and you want to support it, please share our page on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. If you're interested in joining the project, you can send me a direct message. And thank